Hi, this is Dr. John Johnson with 1 Minute Closer, and I want to talk to you today for a minute about moving beyond our past. We all have a past, and with all of us, there are both positive and negative things about our past. Let me tell you a little bit about mine. I grew up in a church, and there were a lot of rules in the church, like no television, no movies, no communicating with people really outside of the church. This was a small group of people scattered all over the nation, and they kept in touch with each other, kind of like the alumni of a small town high school does. So there were a lot of social obligations in that movement. We went to church a lot. On some weeks, we spent probably 8 hours going to church between Sunday morning, Sunday night, and Wednesday night. And then every fall and the spring, we went to church every night of the week for 10 days. So the total amount of time we spent in church on an average per week was really high, probably from 10 to 20 hours if you average in the fall and spring meetings and the summer camp meetings. And of course, we were obligated to keep the rules of the church. But one of their rules that became a problem for me eventually was a prejudice against higher education. They did not trust people with master's and doctorate degrees. For the most part, the church was made up of people without such degrees. And it was felt that if a person went on for a higher education, their belief systems would get changed and they would no longer see the rest of the world as the church did. So when I got in my master's degree program, everything went well for a while, and then people began to notice that I was in it, and reflections were made, and eventually I lost credibility within that group because I was in higher education. I was discouraged from going on in it, but I knew somehow in my heart that it was very important for what I was being called to do. And so I went ahead with higher education, but I had to part ways with the church. And when I did, I felt a freedom from some of those prohibitions that I had grown up with. And my first tendency was try to run as far away as I could from that. Now, in my case, I stayed within the Christian faith, but I didn't really want a lot of contact with people from the past, especially to begin with. But over time, as I began to reflect, I started to see some of the positive things about the past. For example, we didn't watch television, so what did we do? We read books. We also entertained each other, not by watching movies together, but we told stories to each other. The people from my background were amazing storytellers. They were also amazing networkers, because that is how people move forward in the organization, was by networking and making connections. And many people from my background to this day are excellent. They're unusually good networkers. They're also very good at public performance, because when I was growing up, it was your duty and obligation to get up and give a statement of your spiritual condition in the church once in a while, wherever you were. So you got up and you gave your testimony, and it was actually a short speech. And by the time that I got to college, I had hundreds of hours in public speaking time, hours that most college freshmen today in the United States don't have. So there were a lot of good things about it, and eventually I began to realize some of the positive things about it. And as I did, and as I began to reflect, I decided to write a book about my background. The book is called The Old Paths or a New Way: Perspectives on the Conservative Holiness Movement. Again, it's called The Old Paths or a New Way: Perspective on the Conservative Holiness Movement. And you can find it on Amazon. I don't make any money on it, but it helped me, writing that book helped me to get perspective on my past. Here's a couple of thoughts in closing. One, remember that we are connected by people from our past, not just by the religion that we grew up in, but also by common cultural traits that we share. I go to reunions of people from my past once in a while, and people sit around tables and they laugh about things that no one else understands. And I've had other people come in and listen to some of the things that were being talked about, and they would say, well, I don't understand. I don't see why that's so funny. No, you probably don't, because we were speaking the language that we had, that we grew up in the past with, and we sort of understand each other. And guess what? I have been able to find other people that have left and that also share some of the common cultural values, although we're in very different places politically and religiously. Some people have stayed within a faith, some people are in a different faith, some people have left, but we have many things in common. So I encourage you, take time to process your past. Do some writing and reflecting about what from your past may hinder you from moving forward today. We all have a past. With all of us, there are positive and negative aspects to it. Let's get a handle on that so we can move forward. If you enjoy my videos, subscribe to my channel. Now you're 1 minute closer.